And Mr. Mayor, we are live again.
All right, thank you. For the benefit of anyone that may be watching a future video of this, I want to remind folks that if you join us live, you're able to ask questions by posting in the Zoom chat section. Usually you'd be addressing that to Mr. Lanzer. Mr. Hirth will be taking those questions tonight should they show up. Welcome back, everyone. I believe we need to do a poll for quorum first off.
We do. Mr. Betcher.
Here.
Ms. Cheney.
Here.
Mr. Knapp.
Here.
Mr. Prydno.
Here.
Ms. Snyder.
Here.
Mr. Van Hart.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. For my mayor's report, Governor DeWine has announced that there's enough testing capacity that everyone that would like a COVID-19 test can now get one. So you know there are no longer any requirements around actually even having symptoms. And there is a website available on the state website that you can click to give you local locations for that. There was some time spent in our local leadership meeting this past week speaking very well of Dr. Amy Acton, who's resigned the position of Director of the Ohio Department of Health. The attorney of the Ohio Department of Health, Mr. Lance Himes, will be taking over her, or has taken over her position as an interim director. The local health director wanted to emphasize how much Dr. Acton had reached out to local communities like Hamilton County to find out how specifically the state could be helping local communities, and that was a difference that was highlighted by her service versus other folks in that position, and was very grateful for that. The
Excuse me, Stefan?
yes.
Was that testing just for the COVID testing positive? Was there antibody testing involved in that too, or how does that?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
I believe it's
curious.
just testing whether you got it or not. There is trials that are on that topic that are going to be beginning at UC. Trials of vaccine trials are starting up. And I have a phone number that I'll say right now. It's at UC Health, 513-245-3417. If anyone would like to be a test subject for potential vaccines for COVID-19, they're starting to roll out that through UC Health right now. One of the things that Commissioner Driehaus reported at the most recent leadership meeting was that there's been a spike in overdoses, heroin, opiate overdoses here regionally. And there are some local resources for folks to pursue if, which I will touch on last here. But to be aware of that. Certainly our first responders may be seeing that. Wanted to remind everyone about the Ohio Department of Education has their food service program, which provides free meals to anyone age 1 to 18. And there's local sites available for that. We've already discussed that previously. Public transportation is reopened. The Metro buses will return to full service on the 28th of this month. So that's all the routes at this point. Main branch of the library, so that's downtown, that is also reopened. And sorry, what did I say I was going to tell you at the end? Is anybody listening?
The sites, the Department of Education providing free meals age 1 to 8, the local sites available.
We'll get that posted up on the website. that and yeah, the information. So I was trying to make this very abbreviated, and did want to mention you've heard some information about spikes in the COVID-19 cases. So what that has looked like locally, and I've been pushing at the health department to produce language around the statistical significance of whether we're seeing an increase or not, because there's been no language about that, but that has been coming to local leaders. At our most recent meeting, they had said actually everything looks like it's about the same, and that's when I had pushed, because there was people saying, well, has there been a statistical significant decrease due to the warmer weather? Has there been a statistical significant increase due to all the things reopening? And they weren't able to answer that in that language. They were able to say, well, it just looks like things are about the same, but they would get back to us with language around the statistical significance of what we're seeing. USA Today last week reported that a third of the states in our union have been showing an increase in cases over the past month. And Ohio announced that they've been seeing a decrease in cases now. And what that then means, if we're staying the same in Hamilton County, is that we're an outlier because we're not decreasing if we're staying the same. And that is what precipitated this announcement that there may be an issue with Hamilton County and Warren County's numbers, that we may be seeing a spike in these two areas. Again, looking for those numbers to be, I've got a meeting tomorrow where we may be seeing those numbers. They are giving us charts that are showing us going up in Hamilton County right there, but none of the statistical language. And that's it for the mayor's report. And I would ask Mr. Hirth for the administrator's report.
Thank you. So one of the things that I'm going to ask for this evening in Mr. Lanzer's absence is we do need to schedule by motion a public hearing for the 2021 tax budget. We'd like to do that on Monday, July 13th at 6:45 p.m. prior to the council meeting. Is there a motion to do that?
Are we having executive that evening?
No. Well, we don't know. It'll be at 6:45 regardless. So I'm assuming, Mr. Mayor, there's going to be additional considerations that come up from the governor's office regarding public meetings, because I think everything in place right now is until June 30th. So really, we just need to get this meeting on the agenda so we can post it.
Motion to announce a public hearing on July 13th at 6:45 p.m.
Second.
Who seconded?
Oh, yeah.
Mr.
Me.
Pregnant?
Read enough.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
6:45.
That's unanimous.
I forwarded you today Anna's update to me regarding a online meeting that she attended regarding RITA. It was from the Regional Government Association. We're reminding residents that they need to file their taxes by July 15th. We all need to do that. They can do it online or paper. We do have forms in here that people can mail in. And if they send copies of any supporting documents to do their taxes, RITA will calculate their taxes for them and send the resident an invoice. So this is a good thing that tax time is coming up, because we're going to see a delay in our revenue from personal income tax. So the quicker this gets done, the better for the health of the village. Regarding social distancing, we're still doing health check sanitizing protocols in the municipal building. This is extremely important right now due to the potential spikes in Hamilton County. We did hold a live fire board meeting here on Wednesday night. It was interesting to watch people as they participated. The mayor had pointed out that people from other communities were standing around talking without masks on, when our rule is that if you're seated and you're 6 feet distancing, you can take your mask off, but as soon as you get up, you need to put your mask on. So I don't think our rules are draconian at all, but we need to, as we get back into the building, whenever that happens, we'll need to remind everybody to continue to use the masks.
Particularly if we're having a public hearing and planning, that will be some of the discussions that we'll need to have, is how we will communicate that as people are coming into the building for the public hearing, as well as how we will readdress it if we see likely instances of people forgetting during the meeting.
So right now, our plan for that public hearing is to hold it outside in a tent in the park. The tent holds 750 people. So that is much larger than our community hall. That plan will change if the governor's orders change. So we just need to stay up on that. We'll let everybody know what the final outcome is. I'd like to thank Ms. Cheney, her sister Sandy, and Ms. Snyder, and Jacqueline Threadgill for organizing an effort to keep our plants watered. Wouldn't you know, we planted everything and the rain stopped. So next year we'll have to try and plant earlier. We still have about 30 Census 2020 signs. We need to get those out there. So if you have some spots we can put them out, let us know.
I apologize for interrupting. There was an idea that I had and had shared with Ron around these signs as well that I'm planning on doing in my front yard. And it addresses the issue that our messaging around the importance of the census got kind of changed up with the whole COVID thing going on. Initially, we were going to be sending out letters to everyone, and we didn't end up doing that. But putting up kind of a Burma shave style sign right before the census sign saying, "For our roads," all right, and then after the sign, after the census sign, "For our public services," something like that, so that as people are seeing the sign, that additional messaging of why it's important to be participating in the census can be conveyed. So what we're looking for is basically blank, like white yard signs that we can just write on, right, with a permanent marker to, maybe have your kids, if you got kids, decorate them or decorate them yourself with some art, but to be conveying that message to put along with the census signs. And if I could get anybody's help on identifying where we can be finding white signs like this to be putting out to supplement it, I'd appreciate the help. I'm sure Ron would appreciate the help too.
It's actually what we need is white plastic foam core,
Okay.
which really isn't foam core, it's plastic, but same thing. What would a meeting be without mentioning Stover? It is on track to wrap up the end of July. They are on a 2-week hiatus right now. The next step, which is going to be the messiest and the most inconvenient, will be the grinding and replacement of asphalt. So remember, from Sanibel to Bremont, they're grinding the asphalt and just putting down a new layer. From Bremont to Rosedale, they are actually removing the road. So all the substrate will be taken out, new substrate put down. Then they will go over the top of that with new asphalt. This will be very similar. Ms. Cheney probably remembers when they did Bremont and did the new concrete road several years ago. So people are going to be out of their driveways for 2, 3, maybe 4 days at a time. The construction company is communicating to that. They have actually done a great job in keeping our residents informed of steps of the project. So I'm not anticipating problems with that, but I'm sure we will get some calls and we'll take care of them. In order to address the speeding issue, I have endeavored on a project with our road engineer, JMA. The chief has identified 12, I believe, streets or areas where we can put permanent speed humps. The reason we would use permanent speed humps is they're not that expensive. When you take a look at what the plastic ones cost us to buy the material, and then the yearly replacement of the bolts to put them back down, we would probably be able to do, and this is an estimate, 10 to 12 speed humps for probably less than $50,000, which is money that we do have in the road fund that's unallocated at the moment. So we will continue to work on that project. They're doing some of the engineering. They have locations right now where we might put them at the chief's direction. And once we have something specific, I'll share that with the executive committee. A temporary remedy has been implemented in the park to deal with the wall that's falling over. Essentially, we've removed it and are smoothing it out so there will be a hill. The actual solution to fix that would be to build a new wall. And there are some things that we're working on now to try and determine what the cost would be and what kind of a wall that might look like. That we'll be able to talk with the executive committee on in probably a month or so. I did send you a follow-up email because I missed telling you this at the last council meeting, but there is a resource document area which has been added to the website, which right now has the TAP study and also has all the We Thrive documents in it. That is on the online council packet page, which you might have noted that we have now moved the council packet to an online web page, which creates less duplication of documents and less chance for error. If you have a problem finding that, just let me know. Glad to direct you there. And then finally, Mr. Lanzer and his wife Kelly welcomed Shirley Bennett Lanzer into the world back on Wednesday, June 10th. And I did send you pictures this evening that I received from Andy. So those are in your email. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Herf. Do we have a Little Miami Fire District report this evening?
We do not.
All right. Mr. Chief Campbell, do you have a report?
I do. Thank you. A couple things. First, a report on our runs for the month of May. For the month of May, the police department responded to 262 calls for service. Last year, during the same period, it was about 336, so it is lower. We all know the factors for this with the virus and the other things going on. We've taken 16 incident reports in the month of May compared to 25 last year. So we're not seeing a spike in more serious incidents. Second thing I'd like to report is the police department actually received notification today that we went from our provisional certification to our final certification for the Ohio Collaborative for groups 1 and 2. We've been doing the things required of the collaborative to date. It was just getting the proof and the examples of when we put them to use. And sometimes you have to wait for examples to occur. So we have all that. If you're not familiar with the Ohio Collaborative, there's information on their website there. It can be found at www.ocjs.ohio.gov/Ohio Collaborative. I'll share that with Ron so he could have that in a minute out to you guys. But that's a good thing. There's 4 areas to be certified. The reason we're certified in areas 1 and 2 is because areas 3 and 4 relate to body-worn cameras, which we have not implemented yet, and they relate to dispatch training, which we're not responsible for since we contract with Hamilton County Comm Center. So we are certified in the areas we need to be certified in. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you. Was there, I know that I received information on a couple of things I didn't hear in the report about, and frankly, I'm not clear on whether I can, if I should be speaking to it or not. One had to do with vehicle incident.
Message the chief.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Mr. Knapp.
You can message the chief privately on Zoom here.
Right. My question was just if the report had any updates on it, but I'm going to presume that that answer is no, since it was not spoken to.
That's correct. If you were, one incident, I know was shared through email to council. If you're referring to the vehicle crash involving one of our marked units on duty, where we've got a preliminary number on the repairs for that vehicle. It's going to be significant, and we're waiting to hear what action or when we can expect to take the next steps in that. The good news is the officer was not injured, and the even better news, or not the better news, but another bit of news is the officer was not at fault. So we wanted to make sure that people were aware before people drove by, saw a crash, and started maybe suggesting what might have happened. But that's if you're referring to that, that's what I have on that right now.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Is there an education report, Ms. Cheney?
No report.
All right. Is there any other reports? All right. Any other business?
If I can, may I make the announcements that we have here? So
Sure.
our next meetings will be Monday, July 13th, 2020 at 6:45 p.m. It'll be the public hearing regarding the 2021 tax budget. Monday, July 13th at 2020, 7 p.m. will be the full council meeting. Either of those, at this point, we don't know whether those will be virtual or a mixture or a live meeting. We'll keep you informed on that. Tuesday, July 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m. will be the public hearing regarding the referendum on ordinance 2019-10, an ordinance to combat discrimination and for the guarantee of equality and inclusion. And then finally, that same day, Tuesday, July 14th, to be determined for the time, a special council meeting to consider sending the referendum on 2019 to the ballot after the public hearing.
Thank you,
That's it.
Mr. Hurth. Any questions concerning the announcements? I will say that without a redirection from the governor concerning our virtual meetings, my inclination is to keep them virtual. Potentially from the beginning, I've floated the idea of having a hybrid version where we have the ability for folks to attend who would want to attend non-virtually. We have not had any indication that the powers that allow us to continue to meet virtually are imminently going to change. But should we have that, of course, you will be among the first to know. Does anybody would like it to speak publicly about a preference either way on how we're continuing to meet?
Definitely, it's my preference to continue to meet remotely. This has been, for our own concerns, especially with my wife being pregnant, we're trying to limit exposure. So it's really appreciated.
Anybody else? All right. Any other desire for comment before I ask for a motion to close? All right. Thank you, everyone. Do you have a motion to close?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Give it a second.
Who was the second?
Mr. Van Harn.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Without
Aye.
Thanks,
objection,
everybody.
take that as unanimous. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.